Hello, grade 11. Now we're going to do revision for your tests. This one is taken from an old exam paper. Question 3, you'll have the data files and teams, plus this Word document. And this question 3 program has two arrays. An array called array ARR item, which has got 10 boxes, and each box or each index contains a string which has a number as well as the item, and this is a number in stock. And then AR quantity has got new numbers in stock, and it's also been pre-filled. So these are arrays that have been pre-filled. They're variables, which means we can change the contents, and ultimately we're going to basically add these numbers to the numbers that are originally in the array ARR item. No, sorry. Yeah, well, we'll come to the instructions now. Okay, we're going to follow the instructions from 3.1. In the sort arrays button, we're going to sort both arrays called AR item and AR quantity, and we're going to sort them in alphabetical order of AR item. And then also we're going to display in neat columns in the rich edit named RED output. So we're going to sort parallel arrays, AR item and AR quantity. They are parallel. That's 10, that's 10. So in the sort arrays button, we use our sorting algorithm, 2 for loop counters, and 2 variables matching the data types of the 2 arrays. One is an array of integers and the other one is an array of strings. So we have a temporary variable for the string and an item for the integer, because that's an array of integers and that's an array of strings. We're going to do a swapping algorithm for those two. So we go ahead with our algorithm for sorting. For k equals 1 to 10 minus 1, which is 9. And then for L, we'll go from k plus 1 to 10. For L equals k plus 1 to the last box, which is 10. And then begin and end. Now we ask the question, if you're sorting AR items, we're going to sort them both according to AR item. In other words, this array of strings. So if AR item, box number k, is greater than AR item, box number L. Why is that? Well, k is going to be box number 1, L will be the second box after box number 1, which will be 2. So if 1 is greater than 2, so if the string in 1 starts with the letter B and the string in box number 2 starts with the letter A, we want to swap them around. That's what that greater than sign says. So we'll swap them using our swap algorithm, make stemp equal to the first one, box number k, and then make box number k of AR item equal to box number L, AR item box number L, and then we make AR item box number KL equal to our original k item, which was stemp. Stemp was kept to that one safe. But you can't just swap that array, you've got to swap the other array as well, AR quantity. So I like to use copy and paste, and then I use this it's a sync edit mode, and I'll say itemp, and this is ARR quantity. Is it called AR quantity? Yes, it is. Take note, it's itemp, and that's your sorting done. Easy as that. Make sure you know where your ends are and they're matching the begins, and at the end of that we then go and display it. But they say neat columns, so we better go and clear our rich edit. So red output.clear. It's always a good idea to clear the rich edit first, and then we're going to set our tab stops dot paragraph dot tab count equals 1. Why is it only one? Because we've got two things to display, the name of the item and then the quantity. So it's only one tab stop. So tab number 0. The first one is always going to be tab 0. And we'll make that to a random number, I don't know, 70 or whatever we want. I think 70 should do it. And then we're going to use our for loop for k equals 1 to 10. How many boxes are there? Well, they've given us, that's 10, there you see. And what will we do? Already only doing one thing, so I'm not going to use begin and end in the for loop. Our item box number k plus #9. #9 will introduce that 70 that we stipulated for the first tab stop. Our quantity, but our quantity is an array of strings, so we better say int, it's an array of integers, so we must say int to string, open brackets, our quantity box number k. Why k? Because we're using our for loop counter k here again. You can use another one if you want, but you're allowed to use that one. Okay, we can use it again, even though we might have used it up there. Doesn't matter, we can use it here as well. And make sure we close our brackets for the rich edit, otherwise the process is going to complain. And there's that done. Right, that's that one. Then, so we sorted that one, 15 marks done. In the onCreate event handler, what we're going to do, the array named AR item contains item name as well as new quantities to be added to stock. So actually our item's got new quantities to add to stock, so we're going to remove those quantities from each box of AR item and add them to the numbers in AR quantity. So we're going to take these numbers out of here and add it to, so that 62 is going to go out, delete it from there and add it to the 3 there of AR quantity. Now because they're parallel arrays, obviously we can do it, but we're just going to basically remove whatever's in there. I'm not going to delete, I'm going to create a string. So they say on create, so click on the form, go to events, and go to on create. There it is there. Okay. Now we're going to go through every single box, so we need a for loop. And I'm also I'm going to go and make a string, because why? Well, I want to keep it safe, I'm going to pull the string out of there, and then I'm going to delete everything there. Well, I'm going to get that number 62. Somehow we've got to get that number up. So let's go and look at our string handling. I'm going to use an Excel spreadsheet here. Okay, I'll just actually do this. Right, so if we have the word okay, blue pen, like seriously, we don't want to have a blue pen, spell it right. Okay, blue pen, and those are the numbers. Those are the characters of each box. Let's say that's an example of one box. Okay, now you'll have one box of the array will contain a string similar to this. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to copy from the length 11, it's the length. Okay, that is the length of that string. That number 11 means the length of this whole string. So the length of the string minus the pos of the space, which is 9. What's 11 minus 9? It's 2. And that's the number that we want. So we're going to copy it from there. So we must remember that's what we're going to do. So we're in the onCreate event. Oh, did I just lose my on create? Oh no, I didn't. There we go. We're going to go through each box of the array for starters, definitely. So we're going to go for k equals 1 to 10. Do begin and end. So we can do quite a lot of stuff inside here. We're going to say s-line equals ARR item box number k. So we get the string from each index. And now we're going to get our number, our new number, I num, for want of a better word, I num is going to be equal to int string to int copy, because remember copy returns a string and you've got to convert it to an integer because it's storing the number. That's the number I want to add to ARR quantity. So we're copying from ARR item s-line, starting at the pos of the space, pos of the space, I mean the space of s-line plus 1, and the number of items that we're going to copy. Yeah, that's quite tricky, isn't it? It's very tricky indeed. Pos of the space of s-line, or if you want to break it down, let's go and get our pos and say our pos equals the pos of the space in s-line. Why do I want the pos of the space? Well, we want to get to start copying from this character here, number 10 in this case. So pos of the space plus 1. So that is why we have the plus 1 there. Copying from s-line, starting at the pos of the space plus 1. You all agree that we are there now. And the number of characters we want to copy is 2, but it's going to be the length of s-line minus our pos plus 1. Well, to break it down and make it easy to understand, let's get the length of s-line over here before we go and do our length of s-line, before we do our copying. So r pos plus 1, and it'll be r len minus r pos. So translate it down, the length of s-line minus the position of the space will give us 2. We've figured that out in this little diagram here. When you ever get stuck, draw a string, number the characters, and do your maths from there. So that I num is going to be those last 2 digits. We don't know how many digits there are, because each one, let me go scroll back up, there could be 3, there could be 103, there could be 2. Can you see there's only 1 for wax crayons? I mean 2. In other words, the number 2, that's 1 digit. So we have to make sure our copying and we copy the right number of characters. We use the proper length. You can't just say, oh, I'm copying 2 characters. No, you can't say that. You have to say r len minus r pos. Right. So now we've got the number that we want to add to AR quantity, square brackets k. It's going to be equal to AR quantity, square brackets k, plus r num. So now we're adding r num to our array quantity, but that's not the only thing we have to do. We have to delete from s-line, starting at r pos. Why do we want to delete from r pos? Well, we want to delete those 3. So we're going to delete starting at number 9 in this character, in this particular example, and the number of characters are 3 here for this example, but that 3 translates to the length minus the position of the space plus 1, because length minus the position of the space gives us 2, but we want to delete 3, so we have to add 1, the number 1 to that. So we're starting at r pos, and it'll be r len minus r pos plus 1, and then we're going to go and replace arrow items box number K with whatever S line is. Now that was quite tricky, there's a lot of calculation there. Just do it over again and watch it again if you don't quite understand. So now we've got arrow item box number K. What's going to happen now after this? Display the arrays in the rich edit. Well, we could actually go and call we can go say, okay, what do we have here? Let's have a look what we have. We have a display arrays button, which we still have to fill. But let's look at what else is happening. Display the arrays in the rich edit. We haven't written any code in the display arrays button, but we can do that. Even though it didn't tell us to do that, we're going to go and click. We're going to go and put display arrays. We're going to use this over here that we put in our very first button that we did code for. We're going to go and put that in our display arrays button. See, display arrays, we're displaying the arrays. I just copied and pasted the code from there to here. In fact, we could even take that out, but I won't. Right, so that's that, displaying the arrays. And then the user can just go and click on that button to display the arrays. So to show you what this is going to look like, here we have errors. Right, and while that's there. Okay, let's run it. More errors. Oh, I did not declare variable K. And I copied that code across, I didn't declare it. A variable K. Remember, AR item and AR quantity are global variables, so you don't need to. So sorting and display arrays, and basically that's doing it all. So the sorting and display arrays. So there we have it. Of course, that 70 units was probably not enough. We need to have like maybe 100 or maybe something like 90 for the tab stop. So sort arrays, well, we know display arrays is going to do that. Okay, so 90 is the one to use. Okay, so that's that done. Next question is 3.4 stock decrease. It's slightly more complex. Let's have a look. So the stock decrease, we have to calculate a new decrease stock value, and the percentage decrease, we have to, the user is going to enter in the input box, an integer to represent the percentage with which to decrease the stock, and then we're going to reduce the quantities of the stock by that percentage, and we're going to use the rules that are explained on the previous page. So if the percentage increase is 10%, percentage decrease, and then we get 3.5 as our percentage that we want to decrease it, we're only going to decrease it by 3. So if it's 1.68, we can only decrease by 1. If the percentage decrease is 2.4, we only decrease by 2. So we're basically going to disregard any decimal points of that percentage decrease, the quantity that we're going to decrease by after calculating what the percentage is. So that's the table that we have to look at when we do this, and well, we've looked at it, and we've also got to check that the input box that we use, the user is going to actually enter an integer. So in this 3.4, we have to use a repeat loop for the user to enter an integer. So we're going to check to see if it's an integer. So we'll have I, num, and I code, because we're going to use val, and then I decrease is going to be my percentage decrease that they must enter into the input box. So we're going to repeat until R code equals naught. So we will say we've got to get a string. Okay, S input string, because it's an input box, and an input box returns a string, equals input box, enter a percentage to decrease, and I'm going to tell them integer only. So I've given the instruction there that they must put an integer in, and then I'm going to val that input. I'm going to use my val procedure, val s input comma inum comma r code. Now I have explained how val works. It takes s input, tries to convert it to an integer, and if it does work successfully, then r code will be equal to naught. Okay, and if r code is not equal to naught, r code will be the integer, the character number of s input that is offending. In other words, it's not an integer, it's a character or something else. So r code will return the character number that of the character that stopped the conversion. So when that happens, then we quite happily say r decrease equals, when we find an r code is equal to naught, this will carry on until r code is equal to naught. So that if it is, after that repeat loop, we can safely, because this input box will come up again and again until r code is equal to naught, and then we can say r decrease equals string to int s input. And now we've got our decrease percentage. Now all we have to do is go and calculate it, and we will have a real number, r decrease because we're going to divide. So r decrease, and it's going to be, we're going to go through each box of ARR quantity. Remember, ARR quantity is the array. We're going to change every single number in ARR quantity. So we must update ARR quantity with the new values. So we'll go use a for loop. So I've got to get a for loop counter here. So for k equals 1 to 10, remember there's 10 boxes, in an end, let's calculate the value each time. R decrease, I can't spell decrease, equals ARR quantity box number k times by I decrease divided by 100. Now we have to go and trunc that number. In other words, get rid of the fractions, and trunc will return an integer. And I'm going to call that integer I num, and then we'll have we'll add I num to our AR quantity. I num, we'll subtract it. I num equals trunc, get rid of the decimal points of R decrease, and then we're going to say AR quantity box number k equals ARR quantity box number k minus I num. And then we can display. We can click the display button and you'll see the new quantities. And that's that. Let's okay, let's see. What? INUM. We've used INUM before. Okay, I'll call it I. I'll just call it I quantity. You see what we did there? INUM was already used before. You can't use a variable name again. Quantity, I quantity. There we go. Alright, where's my other error? Input box, S input. I didn't declare S input as a string. See my S input from the input box. And another error. And I didn't declare R decrease. Oh, I spelled it wrong, did I? Yep, I did. My computer is not showing me the syntax errors before I run it. Right, sort, display, stock decrease, integer only. Okay, let's go and see what numbers we can test it with. 12%. 12% ballpoint pen should be 42. So let's go and put in a 12. Click OK. And then display. And there it is. Perfect. Right, so that is question 3. And you can try this by yourself.